Coloradans on transplant lists are being turned away for being unvaccinated. Colorado's Republican chairwoman had a little-known role as the head of a conspiracy theory group working with an armed militia. A school district points out that an anti-mask school board candidate who's suing them was perfectly fine with wearing a mask to prepare for what she called the upcoming Civil War. A dusty spot with a place in Colorado history. It now has a future.
Seeing what was possible in the past, and you sort of wonder, why aren't we doing this today?
Black history is Colorado history, and there's proof of that out in Deerfield. We'll head there next. One of Colorado's largest hospital systems says transplant recipients must be vaccinated. We learned that by chance today when an unvaccinated patient who needs a kidney decided to go public about UC Health's policy. The hospital system says that keeping people from dying unnecessarily is kind of the point. Here's Steve Sager.
I found myself, I think, trying to understand where the Hippocratic Oath comes in to play here about do no harm.
Leilani Lutali knows her time is limited. The doctors at University Hospital have told her with stage 5 renal failure, she needs a kidney transplant to live. Her friend Jamie offered up her kidney. Then they learned of another time limit.
And I'm being coerced into making a decision that is one I'm not comfortable making right now in order to live.
UC Health sent Leilani a letter last week saying if she didn't get the COVID-19 vaccine in the next 30 days, she'd be removed from the transplant list.
I felt like the vaccine is still new enough. There are too many questions that I'm still left with that haven't been answered.
Jamie, who opposes the vaccine because of its use of the fetal cell line in development, says she was told if she didn't get the shot, she couldn't be a donor.
I knew what it meant for her to have this kidney. And I said, if I'm the one and I can't give her my kidney, essentially I'm also now condemning my friend to death. Because I can't get the vaccine.
UC Health told us today in almost all situations, transplant recipients are required to be vaccinated for COVID, a decision the hospital system made a few weeks ago. A spokesman for the hospital pointed to studies showing a higher risk of death for transplant recipients who catch COVID, ranging from 25 to 33%. The hospital system also says it requires recipients to show proof of other vaccines, like for MMR and hepatitis B. And in some cases, it asks patients to stop drinking or smoking to ensure an organ takes. Leilani told us today she isn't convinced on the vaccine, and she started to search for hospitals out of state who'd be willing to take a chance on her.
I don't want this to be hinged on my freedom of choice being taken away from me, and that's what I feel is happening here.
UNOS, the United Network of Organ Sharing, the organization that matches patients with organs, told me today that this is completely up to the hospitals to make these decisions. Health One, which has a transplant center at Presbyterian St. Luke's, told me today that they determined this on a case-by-case basis, and ultimately the physician determines the safest course of action for a transplant patient. Centura, which has a transplant center at Porter Hospital, hasn't gotten back to us yet, Kyle.
Fair to say, though, Steve, this is not simply UC Health with this concern.
Absolutely. There are transplant systems across the country that are starting to open up their transplant centers to only those who are vaccinated. This is likely we're going to see a lot more of this as time goes by.
All right. Steve Sager reporting. Thank you, Steve. New court testimony indicates Colorado's Republican Party chairwoman played a key role in leading an election conspiracy theory group associated with an armed militia. Two leaders of the group FEC United testified under oath that current GOP chair Christy Burton Brown served as the president of their group in November 2020. Burton Brown also appeared in a video promoting FEC United at an event last fall where prospective members were pitched on the group and its affiliated militia.
They might outnumber us, but they're not going to outgun us.
Burton Brown and the Colorado Republican Party did not respond to our request for comment today. Her previously unreported role as president of FEC United was first highlighted in court transcripts by the Colorado Times Recorder. FEC United has pushed election conspiracy theories that the reason that President Trump lost and that Democrats in Colorado have won is all because of rigged voting machines. FEC United's founder, Joe Altman, one of the two people who identified Chairwoman Burton Brown as their former president, is currently being sued for his unsupported claim that he listened in on an Antifa conference call planning how to rig the election. Cherry Creek School District is responding in court to the school board candidate who filed a disability lawsuit so she wouldn't have to follow the district's mask mandate. The district pointed out in a court filing that board candidate Shume Navarro said on social media she was willing to wear a mask to go to the gym to prepare for the upcoming Civil War. Navarro filed that lawsuit last week, claiming that a nasal issue and childhood trauma prevents her from wearing masks. Navarro's built quite the profile in Colorado's Republican Party recently with her promotion of QAnon conspiracy theories and her opposition to masks. She received the party's Rising Star Award at an event last month. In response to her lawsuit, Cherry Creek Schools noted Navarro's post about wearing the mask to get in shape for the upcoming Civil War. Also said that she had admitted that she tried and failed to get a medical exemption from her doctors, and the district said that it offered her the opportunity to participate in events remotely. When I spoke to Navarro's attorney last week, he wouldn't say if remote participation was acceptable to them. The Planned Parenthood Center in Denver's Park Hill neighborhood is seeing an influx of patients coming up from Texas after that state restricted access to abortion. 500% more Texas patients last month. Republican legislators in Texas passed a law this summer that prohibits abortions at around 6 weeks into pregnancy. Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains says they saw 106 women from Texas seeking out care at health centers in Colorado, New Mexico, and Nevada last month. They say that influx is slowing down care for women who live in these states. Patients in New Mexico are having to wait as long as 3 weeks for appointments.
Banning abortion doesn't stop it from happening. It just makes it more difficult to access, and it creates barriers that not all patients will be able to overcome. We're proud to be a safe haven that patients can turn to, but there's something fundamentally wrong with forcing people to leave their home communities to get health care.
Planned Parenthood said that some of the women leaving Texas for medical care are emptying their savings to do it. The organization is providing them with money for food and hotels on their way back home. Deerfield, that's a piece of Colorado history that is worth preserving. African-American farmers built the town on the eastern plains, and then times changed. People left. A lot of the buildings crumbled and fell. We've taken you out to Deerfield over the years as interest grew in restoring it as a historic site. Well, now the funding's arrived. Here's Mark Salinger.
There's only a small sign off the side of a highway in rural Weld County.
So historical purposes, it is very, very important.
Yet Deerfield is worth knowing about.
It's also important for people to understand that this black community existed. And it existed in an area with mostly whites around that, and they got along together, they worked together.
More than 100 years after it was built, Deerfield has nearly fallen apart over the decades. It was once the largest African-American homesteading settlements in the state. Now it's a part of Colorado history people like George June are fighting to preserve.
There are a lot of people don't know about Deerfield.
June is the coordinator of Africana Studies at the University of Northern Colorado. He was just awarded a nearly $500,000 grant to preserve and restore Deerfield.
It's very unique because Deerfield is one of the few African-American agricultural communities that still has some of the original buildings.
Our ultimate plan, and I may not live long enough for this, is to create a partial recreation of the old Deerfield. Physically, that people can visit.
Bob Brunswick is an emeritus professor at UNC and June's partner in the project. He uses his expertise in archaeology to dig through history and find hidden information.
Now what we're doing over the past decade is preserving what's there and learning from what's in the soil.
The settlement was built around 1910 and was home to several hundred people. There are only 2 buildings that are still standing, with others torn apart by the eastern plains.
Right now, we're working very hard just to keep the remaining buildings from falling down.
Now Deerfield has a chance to finally be restored. The archaeology aspect of this is so important because a lot of the clues that will help them learn more about what Deerfield was and who lived there are buried beneath the ground. Now, they've already found things like plates and silverware that'll help them determine exactly how many people live there. There's estimates that's between 100, 300 people, but nobody knows for sure, and this is all part of that project as well.
I imagine people hearing your story, Mark, and thinking, oh, I can't wait till it's finished and I'll go out and take a look. But they actually would really like people to come out now.
You can go out there right now. It's about a half-hour drive from Greeley, but they just had the Deerfield Day, which was inviting people out, seeing Deerfield and learning about it, teaching about what Deerfield was and the history that's beneath there and that's still there is half the battle in people understanding it and then pitching in to help preserve it.
We have peeked in on Deerfield over the years a number of times. It's really cool to see things come to fruition. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Vaccine deadline days have come and gone for Colorado's healthcare workers. While one medical system says 99% plus are all good and the rest are gone, another hospital group is giving its unvaccinated staff some unpaid time off and one last chance. A request ahead of Halloween.
How would you feel if your culture was made a mockery of?
We can all avoid ending up on a Not How You Colorado segment. Next. Kaiser Permanente is giving its unvaccinated employees until the start of December to get vaccinated or they have to leave their jobs. And until then, those workers will be on unpaid administrative leave. Kaiser Permanente says less than 1% of its nationwide staff still has not gotten vaccinated or submitted a request for an exemption. It's about 2,200 employees nationwide. They haven't released the precise number in Colorado. Those people were put on unpaid leave at the beginning of October. They have until December 1st to get their vaccination and come back to work or get gone. UC Health announced last night that it fired 119 employees in Colorado for not complying with its vax mandate. Those 119 staff members represent less than 0.5% of UC Health's more than 26,000 employees statewide. UC Health said they can come back and apply for a new job if they choose to get vaccinated. Tonight's next question is about Colorado's partially vaccinated number. You know, the people we always say are waiting on a second dose. It's been hovering right at 315,000 for the last couple of weeks. So we asked the state why that number has seemingly stalled, and our fully vaccinated number has not increased that much. So let's start by taking a look at the latest numbers. 312,265 people in Colorado are waiting on a second vaccine dose. Yesterday, that number was off by about 150. It was 312,424. And 2 weeks ago, it was just over 316,000. So I had a theory on this, that the bulk of the people that we always say are waiting on a second dose are people who got one shot, never came back for another, and are now way too late to complete the sequence. Yes, indeed. State Health Department says that about 200,000 of the 300,000 or so partially vaccinated are in that category. They are overdue for the second shot. State still counts them in there each time. That's the reason why the number of fully vaccinated Coloradans has not been increasing as you logically would think that it would if there were hundreds of thousands of partially vaccinated people about to join the club. If you have a question, don't hesitate to ask it. Record a video or audio message of yourself asking the question. Email next@9news.com. As we always say, if you're wondering, someone else is too.
A beautiful fall day in Colorado. Blue skies, wonderful color in the foreground, but temperatures were toasty. Average high is 70. We're 83. That's in record territory. The record today, 86. Tracking a storm off to the south and west that'll bring a high and mid-level cloud shield to the front range and maybe some beneficial rain to the high country. But Denver, no rain in our forecast here for the next few days. Temperatures will trend above the average of 70 between now and the weekend. And then a second system will bring not only more of these mountain rain showers, but maybe a few showers to the city late Saturday into Sunday. Tonight, dry and mild, our low 43. Light winds out of the southeast. Tomorrow's high 79 with high clouds coming in. 70s into the weekend and then cooler 60s for Sunday and Monday and perhaps a few showers as we kick off the new week.
People need to be mindful and aware of the costumes that they're representing and they're running around in.
It's the year 2021, and some Coloradans still have to ask people not to use their family's culture as dress-up time. There are so many better ways to celebrate Halloween. We'll share a perspective worth considering. Next. No announcement about naming rights. We're just trying to see how it looks. Halloween's approaching. Before you bust out the Native American headdress or the sombrero, or you decide to get a geisha outfit, maybe just stop and think and don't. Folks at the Denver Indian Center are back with their annual reminder that their culture and other cultures are not costumes.
We're asking for respect, and we're asking for that dignity that you would be asking for yourself.
People need to be a little bit more aware when they wear costumes.
There's harm being done even if you don't think there is. How would you feel if your culture was made a mockery of?
I don't feel that the headdress is an appropriate costume to wear. Those things are sacred to a lot of tribes.
The use of other cultures' regalia or cultural outfits is highly inappropriate, highly offensive.
And it just kind of puts a stereotype out there, especially for Native American women, that they're more of a sexual object.
And then the cultural appropriation part of it. Just because you have permission from one person doesn't mean you have permission from all 574 nations in the United States.
It's just a matter of respect and listening to the voices if somebody feels that they're being disrespected.
That's really kind of where my hope is that at the end of the day, people take an opportunity of saying, you know what, maybe I won't dress like a native this year, or a mariachi band, or another cultural appropriation.
Some perspectives from the Denver Indian Center through the lens of photojournalist Corky Scholl. Your thoughts on what we're seeing with the stagnant, partially vaccinated numbers in Colorado. A lot of interesting thoughts came in during the show. I'll share your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is being ready to rodeo as soon as your shift ends. Bruce was in line at King Soopers in Windsor on Monday morning when he noticed one of the checkout people rocking boots with spurs there at work. Bruce says he inquired. Cowgirl's actually a member of CSU's rodeo club, and she was headed to practice as soon as she clocked out. Picturing a horse tied up out front, like eating the mums, you know, they're in front of every grocery store these days. If you see something around town that says Colorado to you, take a picture, send it our way. Next at 9news.com is the email, or you can give us a shout on Twitter with the hashtag HeyNext. So much feedback about the idea of the stagnant pool of partially vaccinated people in Colorado statistics. Interesting things that you asked me to consider. Stacy Bolt said, story does not account for the people who got one shot in Colorado and then got a second shot elsewhere. Retirees, second home, college students, etc. Judy Knight says some people had disastrous reactions to the first shot and were advised by their physicians to stop after one and not get another. Very interesting as well. And Sin said, and some people are in that partially vaccinated category because they got the J&J shot and then decided to get a booster of something else. So I think technically you would be in both categories at that point. Well, the numbers are not likely to be exact, are they? But what we figured out tonight is a lot of that stagnant population are folks who have already timed out for their second shot. Keep the questions coming. We'll see you next time.